Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel, Lavie with Nee. I'm Nee, and I'm trying out something a little bit different with the next few videos, so I hope you guys like it. While y'all are here, please hit the red subscribe button. Also, ring the notification bell so you never miss an upload. And with that being said, let's get right into episodes 4 and 5 of The Later Daters. We start this episode off with Anise, who is on a date with Bill, and Bill is 55, he's divorced and has 2 kids. He's also British and white. And right off the jump, we can tell that interracial dating is not for Anise. She's asking these questions, and just their overall conversation, you can just tell that Anise is not comfortable, and this is not where she reigns supreme. But she goes on to ask Bill how he feels about being on a date with a black woman. And Bill is like, hey, baby, I'm true to this. I'm not new to this, okay? I only eat the thigh meat and the leg. He's like, don't let the accent fool you. I'm not a breast and wing man over here, okay? I gets down with the swirl. My kids are biracial, and this is the only lane I've ever driven in. And Anise is like, oh, okay. They end their date, and Bill talks about how they seem like they'd be a really good match on paper, but overall he just wasn't attracted to Anise. And dating interracially has to be in ya, not on ya, and the fact that Anise has never dated outside of her race is a red flag for him. Auntie Lori is getting ready for her date, and we have this cute scene with her and her daughter Kennedy. She's all dressed up, and Kennedy is taking pictures of Lori while she's wrapped up in this tree branch towel. And Kennedy is like, you look like you in the jungle. And I thought it was cute. I laughed at that, little moment between Lori and her daughter. Nate is on a date with Lisa, who is 56. She's divorced and has 2 kids. And I just want to say I did not care for her outfit. She was letting it all hang out. But Nate was enamored, and he was drooling over Lisa. And I immediately said to myself, I bet he takes a selfie with her. So they begin to talk about life and their kids, and Nate tells Lisa that he put his daughter out when she lost her scholarship while in college. Lisa then tells him that her children are in their 30s and they still live at home with her, and Nate is a little taken aback. But I'm going to say this, I have a feeling he's going to overlook all of that because he likes her. And I know that we as a people do that. There's certain things that people we like can get away with that the people we don't really care for can't. So I'll be interested to see how he proceeds with Lisa. Auntie Lori is on a date with Ty, who's 59. He's divorced and has 3 kids. And when she comes in, he almost instantly mentions her feet. And Auntie Lori in her confessional talks about how she does not like his white t-shirt. They sit down, and Auntie Lori mentions that Ty looks very familiar to her, but she can't quite put her finger on where she knows him from. Auntie Lori begins her interview, y'all, and starts grilling him, and even gets onto him for looking around instead of looking at her when he's answering her questions. And Ty in his confessional was like, man, she is grilling me, but I like it. And I was like, all right, if you like it, I love it, Uncle Ty. So Ty goes on to say that at one point in his life, he was a narcissist, and I just want to ask him, does he really know what that means? Because me and Auntie Lori were like, that's a red flag. And most narcissists don't admit to being narcissistic. I don't know. I just don't think he knows what that means, really. So Ty says that he's gotten help since then because he didn't like who he was, and I can appreciate that. And he also goes on to ask Auntie Lori for a second date. Nate and Lisa are still on their date, and he does bring up that he's really not liking the fact that her adult kids are still at home, but he calls that a yellow flag. And like I said, I'm really not surprised. Latricia did a lot less, and it was an immediate no for him, but he likes Lisa, so he's willing to overlook that. He shares his story of his injury with Lisa, and we get a little bit more backstory as to how this injury affected him physically and mentally. And from what I gather, he was pretty much left behind. He wasn't able to accomplish all the things he set out to do, and I'm sure there was, like jealousy, a blow to his ego, because, there were men he was once above, and now they have surpassed him. And you kind of go through like an identity crisis. Like you're really having to figure out like what do I do next, because I had this plan and clearly that's not happening now. Lisa comforts him and gives him some words of encouragement, and it seems like Nate really appreciates that. Pam is meeting up with Logan and they talk about her date with Paul. Pam says they shared a lot of commonalities. She was more relaxed during this date and took her advice. Pam also tells us that she's scared and doesn't want to get hurt. And honestly, I can understand that, especially since both of her husbands have passed. We get back to Nate and Lisa pulls a Nate on Nate and asks for a selfie. And I was like, no, now, Lisa. Anyways, they conclude the date holding hands, and Lisa says she feels like there could be more. Nate calls Logan, and I'm just going to say I'm glad to see somebody else besides Suzanne ring in Logan's line. But Nate is gushing about Lisa. He says he really likes her, but wants to wait to ask her on a second date. And I'm with Logan on this. If you enjoyed her and you liked her, why not go for it? I mean, I'm confusion. I'm sure he has his reasons though, but if you wait too long, it's wrong and somebody else gonna swoop her up. And that just leads me to believe that Nate feels like he can do better. We are back with Auntie Lori and Ty, and Auntie Lori agrees to go on a second date with Ty. And so Ty asks, what would you like to do? And Auntie Lori tells him to be creative and then proceeds to shoot down all of his suggestions. And I'm like, woo, woo, Auntie Lori is a hard crowd to work. Anyways, they finally agree on a nature walk and they go to exchange phone numbers, only to find out, y'all, that Auntie Lori already had his digits in her phone. So it turns out they had met on a dating site and had a brief interaction. Auntie Lori gets loud and was like, I knew it. I knew you. And to me, she kind of overreacted in that moment, but she has that let me get you before you get me so I don't look crazy kind of personality. It's a defensive mechanism in my opinion, but Lori is me. Like, I'm gonna keep my receipts. And she was like, now Ty, before we look at a bird, chicken, or duck, I need to know why you ghosted me in 1989, December 2nd at 5:05 p.m. We are at Suzanne's house and Avery comes over and they are getting ready to go on their second date, which just so happens to be a Georgia football game. And that says a lot about Avery's willingness to like compromise and sort of meet Suzanne halfway, because he doesn't mind going to a game, supporting her team, and he had on a Georgia sticker. But I was cracking up because Suzanne asked Avery what her name is, and he starts calling her all these terms of endearment. And I'm not going to lie, I was nervous for Suzanne, okay? I was like, oh no, Avery, you don't know the lady name. But he eventually says, I know your name is Suzanne. So they're at the game and Avery is laying it on thick, y'all. He is snug as a bug in a rug. He's kissing on her and just like all the things. So Anise is talking with Dwayna about her date with Bill, and she just mentions how she recognizes that no one wants to teach at their age, and that's understandable. Logan shows up and Anise asks her about vulnerability and if people really are that open so soon in dating. Logan tells her yes and continues to encourage her to be more vulnerable and also pop her collar, like show off a little bit. Dwayna mentions that she's surprised that she is having to be encouraged to do all of that because she always takes up space. So Anise gets a little emotional and talks about how she had to be strong because there was no room for her to be soft. Her kids only see her one way and don't realize the struggle and sacrifices she had to make. Y'all, I felt for Anise in this moment because essentially she's living a life of chance, not a life of choice. And, you know, I can really just, my empathy and my heart goes out to her. Dwayna gives Anise her flowers and tells her that she respects her and her journey. And they have this heartfelt moment, which was really nice to see. So Pam and Zoe are talking about Pam's date with Paul and that awkward kiss, y'all. Pam talks about how Paul is kind of blowing her off and doesn't really seem interested. So Zoe has this idea of texting him so she can see where he stands and, you know, just take away the guessing game. Pam is a little apprehensive at first, but then agrees. And all I'm going to say to that is if you have to ask, then usually you already know. But they check out his TikTok and listen to his music, and Pam is not impressed by the least. She's like, baby, my ex-husband used to sing with the Beatles, and Paul, this is a miss. Suzanne and Avery are heading back home from the game, and Avery randomly mentions how he would never invite other people into the bedroom. And I was like, huh? Where'd that come from? And Suzanne was like, what would ever make you think that I was down with something like that? And I agree, because again, I ask Avery, where did that come from? Because you you ain't slick. I think that was a temp check just to kind of see how much he could get away with. Anyway, they are at Suzanne's house, and seeing her shoes on that counter made me like raise an eyebrow, because now I'm like, do you let your dogs eat straight from the fork and out the bowl? That's just like the only question I had when I saw those shoes up there. Anyways, moving along, Avery is all up on our girl. She's telling her she's scared of him, and Suzanne's like, psh, boy, I ain't never scared. I ain't scared of you. Which that's also kind of awkward, but anyways, that's neither here nor there. That is where episode 4 ends, and we'll go right into episode 5. So if you've made it this far in the video, please hit that subscribe button and also thumbs me up. Episode 5, we are still at Suzanne's house, and Avery is still talking about how Suzanne is scared of him. It's almost annoying at this point, if you want me to keep it 100. But I will say this, I wonder if he's clocking Suzanne's interest in him. Like, just the way she's interacting with him, I wonder if he can tell that she really likes him and is just saying like, oh, you're scared to like me the way that you're liking me. And by that metric, he's not wrong with Suzanne being scared, because she does tell us, what's that? She does tell us, I don't know how to say that. She does mention to us that they are moving way too fast, and she feels like she needs to pull back. And I was like, too fast? Question mark, question mark. Susie, you're 60, baby. Come on now, girl. Nate is getting ready for his 4th date, and of course Jackie is around the corner in the neighborhood, whatever reason she has for being at this man's house. So anyways, production asked them why they aren't together, and Jackie talks about how they considered it and they tried, but ultimately it did not work because they're just not compatible, and now they have a friendship. Nate talks about his date with Lisa and says it was more fun in comparison to the date he had with Anise, who is more rigid. He does mention he didn't like that Lisa had adult children at home, because how is Lisa gonna take care of him if she's taking care of her kids? That's Nate's concern right there. Ooh, I'm going too hard on Nate. Let me back off, my boy. Anise is with Dwayna, and Dwayna is picking out the next date for her mom. She picks this silver fox, and y'all, this man is getting out the swimming pool. He doesn't have a shirt on, and he's just glistening as the sun is hitting those specks of water. He's a looker. He does look good, I'm not gonna lie. And to me, that just kind of confirms my initial assumption of Anise, of how she is more into looks and your outer appearance when it comes to dating. Lori is talking about her date with Ty and says that she likes that Ty paid attention to the details on her, like her nails and her toes, and she really, really liked the fact that he said he would pay for her to maintain all of that. She talks about the white t-shirt again, saying that it threw her off. Lori and Ty have talked since their date, but he hasn't reached out to her after she told him she wouldn't be available on her birthday weekend. And goodness no, y'all, Auntie Lori will not be ringing his line, because she says you have to let a man be a man. Nate is meeting up with Michelle, who's 55. She's divorced and has 3 children. Logan talks about Nate being a maximizer dater. He has unrealistic expectation and pretty much wants to build a bear. But there is no way for him to create this perfect person, and she would like for him to run towards the green flags instead of highlighting the red. Anyways, Michelle is cute, and right off the bat, they are clowning and joking around, and Nate forgets to give her her flowers because he's just kind of taken aback by her looks, but it was smooth how he made her count to 30 while he went to go get them. She is a drinker, Nate is not, but he says that he's cool with that, and Michelle asks Nate why he's single, and he's like, I haven't met my match yet. Michelle gives him a hard time for not eating guacamole, telling him that it's good for you. You don't like stuff that's good for you? Because, baby, I can be good for you. Pam is getting ready for another date and pretty much just confirms to the viewer that Paul wasn't interested in moving forward. Suzanne tells Logan that both of her dates having young kids and Avery being a Bama fan is a deal breaker for her. Logan says that Suzanne is being nitpicky, and long story short, she can get over those deal breakers. But like I said in my first review, our girl Susie is here for a good time, not a long time, and she tells Logan that she wants to go on more dates. Auntie Lori tells Logan that her and Uncle Ty have fizzled out. She again mentions his white t-shirt, and Logan is like, maybe you can help him with the style. And Auntie Lori is like, listen here, Lolo. I want my man's ready-made, okay? I'm not building nobody up. She brings up Felton and talks about how much she likes him, but feels like she's in the friend zone, and just reiterates, you have to let a man be a man. Nate and Michelle are having banter about their favorite NFL teams. I honestly don't remember which teams they like, but their teams are rivals. And I just want to say, look, Susie, you can like the opposite teams and still like each other. It's okay. Nate tells Michelle about his injury, and honestly, she didn't go up or down about it. Nate does ask her for a selfie, and I believe this is the first person he has definitively said that he wants to see again. Michelle says it's too early to tell if there is a romance there, but Nate says he definitely sees something a-brewing. Logan is talking with Auntie Lori and her kids, and she asks them what they think is getting in their mom's way. Auntie Lori immediately interrupts and tries to answer, so Lolo is like, look, we're going to set this timer for 5 minutes and you can't say anything, and I'm going to talk to your kids and get insight from them, and you just sit and chill out for a little bit. Logan asks her son how he feels when Lori interrupts him, and he says it is annoying, but he just lets her talk because that's the way she is. Her daughter talks about how she wasn't able to find her voice until she got to college because her mom always did it for her. And now that she knows who she is standing 10 toes down. And Logan is like, I don't know that slang, homie. What, are you standing tall in it? Anyways, it was a cute little scene between her and Kennedy. The timer goes off and Lori is being a butt and not talking to them, and I'm just like, come on now, Lori. Logan is even like, Lori, come on. We are trying to help you grow. She also mentions that men want to feel like they are home and Lori feels like an airport, and I thought that was a really good analogy. Lori does mention being in therapy, which is good because that was a question I had in a previous interview. But I will say this. If you're making excuses, not listening, or applying the things that your therapist said, then there's just no point because it's not going to work. So I hope that she is really taking in what the therapist said and not giving so much pushback. Logan and Lori talk about Felton, and her kids' silence is so loud. It does not seem they like Mr. Felton at all. Pam is on a date with Dwight, who is 70, never married, and has one child. Dwight says that he doesn't have a shopping list when it comes to dating. He just wants to experience the person. He talks about how he grew up poor and as a result moved out pretty early. They converse about how different this new generation is, and Dwight mentioned he owns a tour company and takes people all around Atlanta. And Pam just, like, out of the blue is like, I want to work for you. And Dwight's like, say what now? Pam. Jesus, Pam. Suzanne is getting unready, and her 100 pillows and 5 dogs get in the bed, and we see a message thread between her and Avery, and she pretty much tells our boy Avery that they need to slow down and chill out a little bit. Pam and Dwight are still on their date, and Pam is tearing that chicken leg up, y'all. Like, she is she is tearing she was getting the meat off the bone, okay? They both mention how there probably isn't a romance there, but they do have some business ideas that could possibly work. So Pam done had her interview and got her a job, y'all. I ain't mad at you, Pam. Anise is getting ready for her date with the silver fox Dwayna picked out for her. She meets up with Willie, who is 55. He's been divorced twice and has 5 kids. Anise is instantly enamored by this man. They are both oohing and awing over each other. They are gazing. They're pretty much just lusting after one another. Willie mentions they have a lot to talk about, but y'all, they are literally not talking about anything. Just looking, gazing, looking. That's all they're doing. Anise asks if people call him Big Willie. And the episode ends there. So if you like this video, please give me a big thumbs up. Drop down in the comments and let me know what you think about Anise and Willie. And also subscribe to my channel, y'all. And don't forget to tell somebody else to come on over and enjoy Lavie with Nee. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.